Hello and good morning. Welcome to another episode of Spiritual Health. This morning, as you can see, we have a very special guest with us, and it is now Shepherd Wallace, coming all the way from Paramin. And he has brought some of the local fauna and flora with him, and he will explain in detail what benefits can be derived from these plants that you see before us on the table. Dr. Myers is also with us as usual, and he is also going to take us along that herbal remedy journey. And as we discuss during the program this morning and in the 4 mornings to come, you will see that God has provided a lot of benefit for us in His creation. So good morning, Shepherd Wallace, and good morning,
Mo-
Dr. Myers.
Good morning.
Good morning to
Morning.
All right.
everyone.
So, Doc, let's kick it off here now. And, this program, this series of programs.
Well, one of the reasons why, we thought we'd do this is that we have a peculiar thing that goes on, and you call it fake news. As the new word for it.
Yeah.
We've been faked for a long time, in the sense that we have things around us that are extremely valuable. You see that across there? This is what we call money bush. See little pods that grows, and then that gets dark brown. That gets brown as it dries. The other name for it is kidney bush. And it's very strange that we have people with a lot of kidney problems. I don't understand that this is one of the medicines for a great kidney revival, right? Am I right? Loss of protein in the urine and things like that. I've seen this bush work some real miracles. The thing about it is that in Texas, they have hundreds of thousands of acres that are being grown to make medicine. But they come down here and they tell you, herbs then have no use. So we have this discrepancy. And sometimes I think it is very necessary for us to correct this discrepancy, because we have things that work, and we have people, including our own people, who have become doctors, and this is not a fake criticism. It's just that they come back and they say that herbs don't work. So we've been around for several million years, and herbs have been working. The drug companies have just come along, and somehow we've been having good health, right?
Well,
Without the drug companies, but the herbs don't work. And I think it is like everything else when they told us that coconut oil does clog up our arteries, or that marijuana ain't have no use except to stone you. Where we're knowing that is a totally different scenario. And so one of the things that we need to do is to reintroduce ourselves to what we call the grassroots conditions around us. For instance, when I was young and you had a rash, your mother would interpret it as heat in the blood, and the blood need cleaning and it need cooling. So she'd burn some ratchet and put it in the water to cool it down. And then she'd go over the hill and she'd get you some
Sugar bush.
bush to
Purify your blood.
purify your blood. You see? I grew up with that, and I never went to a doctor until I went to London at the age of 23 or something, when I got a big boil under my arm, and I had to go to the doctor. I had no doubt that if I was home, my mother said, okay, and she'd have whipped around in the back and boiled up some concoction, and that would have been the end of that.
Get a bud pepper leaf and rest it on it.
I remember when I bought a farm in Waterfield, and I had my first kid, my daughter, and a couple of years into her life, she ended up with asthma, and we had to carry her to the hospital. And 6 months later, she got another attack of asthma, and we had to carry her to the hospital. And we had the usual Ventolin parade. And my mother came up and she says, hey, you're having asthma. She don't know what she said to me. Send her down for holidays. So I sent her down for holidays, and she came back and she says, Daddy, Mom, give me something to drink. One morning, she said, and it was nasty. And it was bitter. She said, and on top of that, half hour after I drink it, I started to sweat and tremble. She said, and then about 10 minutes later, I started to vomit. She said, I vomited up all this nasty green coal. She said, and then my mom gave me something sweet to drink after, and she told me, I'll be all right. She never had asthma after that in her life. You know, all these things have been lost when you look at the amount of kids that are having asthma and have to be perpetually on these steroids. And somewhere inside there, I know that there's that. And I have done this program on the radio, and a woman actually called me and told me the name of the bush. But I lost it. I had it written down and I misplaced it.
We'll get it back, I'm sure.
So obviously, what is happening is that all these very, very important things are getting lost. It is very interesting that the best agricultural college that they had in the world was in Trinidad when the English ruled here. And one of the things that they made sure and did was to go and explore all the plants and take them and break them down for the purpose of making medicines. 95% of the drugs that we have are made from medicines. And the other nonsense that you hear sometimes is, well, the herbs are not standardized, but the medicine is standardized. But in actual fact, the purpose of that is to take out the curative aspect of it, or what appears to be the curative aspect, and then check it and then synthesize it. You synthesize it so you could take out a patent on it and then you can make money. And then you proceed to tell everybody that the herb don't work, but this works better. But we're learning that slowly that is not true. You have ascorbic acid, which they sell in the pharmacy as vitamin C. But it is only one aspect of vitamin C. So now, after 30, 40 years of using, somebody suddenly finds out that without the cofactors, it doesn't work properly. What are the cofactors? If you have it in a berry, the berry have a whole lot of other ingredients inside it, designed to make the vitamin C a whole product inside the fruit, not just ascorbic acid. And that, so you now see, when you see vitamin C, you see it has bioflavonoids, it have rose hip, and all kinds of things like that. And the purpose of that is to put back some of the trace elements that makes the vitamin C the vitamin C. You have the same thing with vitamin E. So we've gone full circle. First we purified it, found out that it doesn't work as properly. In fact, the synthetic form sometimes doesn't work at all. And then to come right back to square one. You know.
Right, so basically, the original source of the vitamin, the mineral, the herb, or the treatment, the curative aspect of it lies in the original plants.
Yes.
More than in the synthesized compound.
Relies on the way that I keep on saying that God made it. When God makes something, he makes it that it is in tune with the rhythm of the universe.
So I know Wallace could relate to this statement that the herb is for the healing of the nation. Yes?
It is written there in Revelation. You will get that there. The 12 manna tree planted by the rivers of water. The fruits is to feed the nation, and the leaves are for the healing of the nation. Praise the Lord.
Well, I was reading a little extract in one of my books here on the energetics of Western herbs. And the guy said that when the Spanish and the English and the Portuguese first came to the New World, one of the first things they did after looking for gold was to look with the natives for herbs, what it cured and what it didn't cure. So he says that within the space of 5-10 years, he had huge bales of all kinds of herbs going up north for the purpose of using for preserving health. You understand? Of course, you never see that in the history books.
No.
You know, you have to go in a book on plants to find that out. So, I just thought I'd open it up like that because we've been dumbed down. Just as how we've been dumbed down with hydrogenated oil, and we had to lose the coconut oil and then reclaim it. Just as how we've been dumbed down with a lot of other things. You know, just as how we've been dumbed down by antibiotics and steroids and things like that in the chicken. You know, we have to reclaim our right to clean food, proper medicinal things that will do the job right. And I was telling somebody the other day, says, show me a drug that cures. And you can't. Because in order to cure, it has to have some nutritive value. Not a maintenance value, it maintains the sickness. Right?
Yeah, but a lot of the medications are prescribed now, especially for the so-called lifestyle diseases. They tell you how to use it for the rest of your life.
Yes. Because nobody's going to try and fix the basic problem. If you have high blood pressure, most of the time your high blood pressure is because the arteries are calcifying. Little layers of calcium is deposited inside it. So as you get older, the arteries get hard. Because what happens is, when you pump blood, we say that the blood leaves the heart, and it travels down the artery, and it doesn't travel down the artery like a pipe. The artery has a whole wave going down, and that wave helps to keep it traveling down without it touching the sides of the arteries. When you calcify, it begins to touch. Therefore, the pressure begins to go up. So what the doctor does is he gives you something that will soothe the thing by slowing down the heart, as one of the ways of doing it, or by dilating the arteries. But at no point do you ever see a situation where somebody says, let us go and clean the calcium out of the arteries. Let us then give some nitric oxide extra to get back the flexibility of the arteries and bring the blood pressure back down so that we don't have to give this thing. So what we're doing, we're really looking at panaceas and not at how to heal the thing.
So in the olden days, and when I say the olden days, I'm about 50 years, right? Because I am, that's as far back as I can remember. I remember my great aunt at one point going to the doctor and they tell her she had high blood pressure. She said, what? She said, you wait right there, coming back. And she went home and she gets some wild variety, I think it was. She boiled the leaf and she drank it for about a week and she went home and said, well, test my pressure now. And it was good. She said, you telling me I have blood pressure, you got to be mad. And she woke up the office. And she was relating me sorry for me, and I was thinking that she was mad. Because the doctor telling me, and she thought she knew better than the doctor. But now I'm beginning to understand. Because remember, I was a little child at the time. I'm beginning to understand that she had a connection.
So as a child, he was already brainwashed.
You understand? Yeah. So I'm trying to break that now. So she had a connection that allowed her to access this information and was able to cure herself. And it is what we are trying to do now is trying to re-establish that kind of knowledge and connection. So that is why we are doing what we're doing today with these plants. So let's kick it off now and let's talk about some of these.
I want to say one other thing. I remember whenever we had any illness in the family, my mother would pick up a little basket and she'd hand me and she'd say, hold that, come with me. And we'd go up the road and she'd say, pick some of that. Take out some roots out of that. And then we walk down and she'd say, pick that flowers there. Right? Cut a piece of bark. Don't take the leaves, cut out the bark and chop it up and put it in there. So one day I said to my mother, I said, how you know what to pick up and what not to pick up? And her reply to me was, shush. Will shush me for ask you a question? You see, the spirit's talking to me and they're telling me what to do. At that point, you think, well, my old lady really going off now. The spirit's talking to her. It's very interesting that I read a book called The Cosmic Serpent. The guy goes to Ecuador and he goes to study with the shaman. You're really going to find out herbs so he could go back and go to the university and discover a few things and probably make some money, and certainly make some fame. So he's going out one day with a guy, patients from in the forest people come to see him. And he's going to really say, just like my mother, pick some of this, pick some of that. So he said to the guy, he says, your knowledge of herbs is phenomenal. To be able to know every single herb like that and what it's good for and what it's good for. How long did it take you to do that? And he says, Not long. He says, well, how do you do it? He says, I talk to the snakes. He said, the snakes where? He said, the snakes in the plant. So he goes over, he says, this guy gone off. There are no snake in no plant. So anyhow, he said about 2 weeks later, the wife is changing the rugs in the little house there. And she drops the rug, and the rug has a double spiral on it, you know. So he called the shaman and he says, where you get that pattern from? That's the DNA pattern. I said, what is inside the plant? The guy said, yes, I know. That's the snakes.
Right, so he had his own name for it.
So the question he asked himself, does the shaman have the ability to communicate with the plant down at the DNA so that he could know the characteristics of what the plant would do under certain conditions against human DNA? And he says, if that was the case, then we lost the ball a long time because he's so far advanced for any drug company. You know, the problem is that we always try to stifle that. We try to stifle people who learn to meditate and go inside. We try to stifle people who have connections to the spirit world, you know, all the time.
Yeah,
You know.
because the term is a whole heap of nonsense. That's what they say.
I have a book that I read about 3 months ago. And the guy is in the States, down in the States. And there's a African psychiatrist in the hospital. And he comes in and there's this guy, and this guy is muttering stuff and carrying on. And they're going to zonk him, you know, whole heap of things. They will be mad, you know. So he listens to the guy and he talks to him a little bit and he says, there's nothing wrong with this guy. He says, rather the reverse. So the other psychiatrist says, what do you mean? He said, well, it's not that he's mad. He's so talented that you can't understand with the book learning that you have. He said, if he was in my village, he'd have been taken into that inner circle and trained and that. So one of the psychiatrists mentioned it to the parents. So the parents came and said, what did you mean? He said, well, if he was there. So he said, what do you mean? If we let him go to Africa, to your tribe, that they would cure him? He says, it's not to cure him, it's to show him how to use the talents that he has. He said, yes. So they give him permission to carry the son abroad. So he went across and he introduced him to the shamans, and the shamans welcomed him, and they took him in. So he said anytime he passed, for the month or two he was there, the boy would be there in the middle of them, and he seemed quite at home, and, you know, nothing seemed to be bothering him. So the shamans tell him he had to leave him here for about 5 years. So, no, 3 years. So he left him for 3 years. And 3 years later he went back to pick him up, and the boy says, I'm not quite ready. Give me another 2 years. Right? So he goes back 5 years later, and the guy says, okay, I'm ready to go back to the States. So he went back to the States after 5 years. And he immediately goes and enrolls in Harvard. Right? And comes out an honor student because he has this deep understanding of the mind that other people don't have.
Right.
So in the case of that, we tend to put our limitations sometimes on genius, you know,
and feel that you have to have a degree to understand things of that nature.
yes, when in actual fact, what you need to have is probably to go into a Franciscan monastery or something like that, where you have people who are dealing with the spirit, right? Or, as you know, go into the older tribes where people are dealing with the spirit on a much longer basis. And so what we think is madness, in actual fact, is the ability to communicate with the universe.
No, I know you're trying to intellectualize and everything. I just want to make this connection in our mind. Is the spirituality, the ability to access the spiritual, does it enable you to understand things on a deeper level?
Of course.
It gives you a different take on the intellect of the world.
Of course. Of course.
I just wanted to make sure.
Let me give you an idea. I'm talking to a guy, and he's explaining a certain passage in the Bible where Moses is talking to God. And God addresses Moses in the feminine. He doesn't address him in the masculine. So he says, well, why would God address Moses in the feminine? And the fellow says, he says, because a woman has a womb and she makes one child. So her whole goal in life is to be one-pointed at what she's doing. She wants a house, she wants this, she wants that in it, she wants it this way, that. A man will give out, well, long he'll give out 150, 180 million sperm. Now he's giving out 40 or 30 or 20, right? But he's still giving out millions. So the man mind tends to work diffused outwards. He's always planning a lot of things. Whereas the woman tends to be always one-pointed, because the very nature of her being is that. So when God addressed Moses in the feminine, was to tell him, stop the nonsense you're doing and start thinking one-pointed. Start focusing. Now, unless somebody who is skilled in the language and the nuances of the language and the nuances of the psychology, what interested me there was that the psychology that was being discussed there was of such a high level, you wouldn't even hear it now in psychology, because in psychology, you know, whether you're mad or whether you're mad, and their definition of mad is what is out of what you could call the ordinary.
It doesn't fit the mold.
It doesn't fit the mold, right? So right away you find that if you begin to talk about spirituality, you have to redefine spirituality. Right? Spirituality is not just kneeling down and saying, oh God, I want 2 cars and a big house.
No, that is not spirituality.
And 1.5 dog. You know.
1.5.
Well, everybody, when you add up the amount of dog and you divide it, they say it's 1.5 dog to a family, right? And a half a cat. You know what I mean? So that we have been dumbed down so much about our connection to the whole that we've lost contact. Imagine doing a program and talking about a woman's cycle follows the cycle of the moon, and a man ringing me up and telling me I'm talking nonsense. I say, well, how many women you have in your house? He says, I have 4 women in my house.
And he doesn't know
I
that.
said, you don't know that? I said, then you totally disconnected from the women in your house. And there was utter silence on the line. You know, you don't even know the women in your house. Go and ask them; they'll tell you.
Well, I think the society today has developed the me culture, where everybody's living in themselves and they're not reaching out and discovering what is around them. So
No, I wouldn't say that they've developed the me culture. I would say that they've been deliberately steered into a selfish culture.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is the amount of what you call synthetic food around.
Yeah.
Long ago, when you lived in a certain area, right? And I remember I was small, and my mother go to bake bread. The amount of, I'm sure she had a big family, but the amount of bread she break in is like she feeding an army. But she was feeding an army, because when she finished, she do that and she said, okay, that's for the family. This is for Miss So-and-so who have 2 children up the road, and she husband and working. And by the way, the fig we picked this morning, take a hand of that and put it in there with that and carry it up the road. And 2 cassava, right? Miss So-and-so old and she can't do too well, and she likes sweet bread. So I bake a small sweet bread which she's went up the road. And everybody used to do that to everybody else.
So we had that sense of unity.
Yes, that sense of camaraderie, that sense of to in and fro in. But because we've become what we call modern, we now have modern things. All the modern things, some of them not even 20, 30 years old. I hear people say, I can't do without a cell phone, you know.
Yeah.
Well, if you go there, we had enough time to talk about it.
So what they're doing are really trying to set the pattern back.
Yeah.
So somebody don't sit down there and say, what nonsense they're talking. Genius is not nonsense, right? Things that heal you. I was telling a patient this week, I say, it looked like if America wants to make war with Russia and China and 1 or 2 other countries, I say if it gets to a world war where they start dropping nuclear bombs, you'd be glad to know which herb fixes what.
Yes.
Because you're going to have no access to what you thought is medicine.
Even now with
You got to have access to, you eat all kind of grass, because you suddenly find out that grass good to eat and that one will poison you. Because it ain't have no flower coming from abroad, it ain't have no apples coming from abroad, You had to eat what it have there.
So,
And you'll watch some berries growing in the yard and say, I never knew you could eat that.
But
You know. So
yeah, go ahead.
I want the people who listen to take it in that spirit of what is being said. You know. And the instructions, when you have instructions, to follow the instructions to the letter. When you go to the pharmacist and he tell you take 3 pills twice a day, just take 3 pills twice a day. If Mr. Wallace comes and he says, you see this is the amount that you want, and you're going to boil this, and you're going to boil it in so much water, and you will drink it at such and such a time. That is exactly what he means.
Yes. Follow the direction.
follow the direction.
He don't mean for you to get 3 sets and
Yeah.
boil it with 3
Yeah,
times
yeah.
more water and put it in the fridge,
Yeah,
because it might not work.
If I double it, it will work faster.
Yes.
I'll get better quicker.
Oh, I have that all the time.
Yeah,
Also, you
You take the lifetime to get sick when you want to get better in one day.
I double it up and I can't understand why I had that bad diarrhea.
right.
Oh, my head started spinning.
Yeah.
You know.
And I had an incident this morning as I get up with this brain of mine only jerry tooth, because normally every morning I get up and I use different herbs. This morning is this jerry tooth. So immediately, when I see the hour 6 o'clock, I just gone outside and I break my jerry tooth branch, and I had my water on the fire already, and I draw my jerry tooth and drink it. It was for a purpose. So I said, the Spirit talked to me this morning, drink jerry tooth this morning.
Okay. Jerry tooth is the cure for
It's
all.
cure for all. Jerry tooth, I mean cure for all.
You come in right now, but listen, boy.
Yeah.
Cure for all. I
Cure
think.
for all, yes.
You can't go in the water and get wet.
Wet. So, well, and the next thing, while you're talking there, and you talk about the parents before, my grandmother is 7 grandchildren she mine, and what was strange, everybody gathering there when August month holiday, and we eating and drinking. But when that last week come for school to reopen, she go and get the lingerie back, and she boiling that. And each man have the cup in the hand, and she had the calabash with it's for warm that lingerie, and you must drink it. I always find that was strange how, but
No,
she
no.
cleaning you out before you going back to school.
Now when I have patients and they come to me, I say, oh God, I have bloating, and I feel my bones tickling me, and I coughing, and I say, I have worms.
You have worms,
Right?
Yes,
They watch me and they say, big people just get worms.
So boy, and then she will tell you, don't go in the lunch. Look, the posy there. And
She want to look.
She see.
She want to look.
You self-seeing, you frightened now. You frightened.
Years ago, I had a partner, and he come and he telling me, I say, I have worms, boy. So I sent him for some worm medicine. They bought the worm medicine, but they decided to go in by the beach. They went to the beach up in Toko. So he say, in the middle of the morning, he feel to go in the bathroom, but he didn't have no bathroom, so he had to go in the bush. He said, I go on in the bush and I sit down on a tooth, and I wipe. He said, I never know tooths used to walk.